Hey guys, Shahan here with Brawl Brothers, and before we get into this video, I got some exciting news to share. The book I've been talking about since the beginning of this channel is finally out. The Art of the Sweet Science. It's a book that I wrote. It includes everything that I've ever learned about boxing, everything I talk about on this channel, everything I talk about on the website, and a lot of things that I haven't yet talked about on this channel, a lot of things that I haven't yet talked about on the website, and it's all included in one very easy to read format. It's almost 200 pages of boxing wisdom, and I guarantee you guys, if you like the content on this channel, you guys will like this book. I dropped a link in the description to Amazon where you guys could purchase the book. You could purchase the Kindle version of the book, and you could purchase this paperback edition if you prefer to read on paper. Other than that, let's get into this video. And in this video, we're going to talk about endurance. We're going to talk about increasing your endurance for boxing specifically. The things that you need to do if you're one of those fighters that no matter how hard you train, you tend to get tired. Maybe you start dropping your hands, or maybe you just run out of gas quick in a fight, even though you're able to go for a lot of rounds on the heavy bag, and you're able to go for a lot of rounds when you're shadow boxing, when your training seems fine, but you gas out in the fight. We're gonna fix that issue here by focusing on endurance training for boxing and how you have to change up your training in order to have more endurance. Now, there's different types of endurance and stamina, right? There's your cardiovascular endurance, which is your lungs and your heart. Then there's your muscular endurance, which is all your muscles and how fatigued they get during a fight. And then there's individual body parts, right, that have their own levels of endurance. Then there's also mental endurance. How long are you able to focus in the fight, right? How long are you able to keep going even though things are getting tougher? And then, of course, there's that second wind stamina that a lot of fighters don't have. They just don't know how to tap into that second win. And in this video, we're gonna break down the different exercises that you could do, how you could do certain typical boxing exercises differently to address each of those weaknesses. First thing we're gonna address is road work. A lot of guys who have no stamina just don't do their road work, or they just don't do enough of it, right? There's a new wave of strength and conditioning in boxing where all these guys from other sports are coming in and trying to teach boxers how to train. And what they do is try to make their training more efficient. And the way they do that is they take things away. One of the first things to go is usually running, right? A lot of fighters these days, I don't want to say a lot, but there are fighters these days that don't run, which if you ask the boxers of the old school, which are some of the most well-conditioned athletes, guys that were able to go 15 rounds in an all-out battle, these guys did their road work. It was a sin not to run your miles. And that's tip number one, is do your road work, guys. Do your running and do your jump roping. Not only is this going to help you with your cardiovascular endurance, but it's also going to help you with your leg endurance and leg agility. Take a guy like Deontay Wilder, for example. This guy takes pride in not doing his road work, but you can tell that he doesn't by the way that he fights. He's very flat-footed, right? He kind of just plods around in the ring. Even though he's a powerful fighter, he's a great fighter, not taking nothing away from him, there is things that he can do better, and that's one of those things, right? You want that foot agility, that foot speed. You gotta jump rope, and you gotta do your road work. Do at least 3 miles when you're maintaining and just doing your training, and up it to 5 to 8 miles when you're training for a fight. You have to do your road work. I personally prefer to do road work separately, right? I would prefer you to do your road work separately. Either do it early in the morning or late at night after your training, or both, right? Do some miles in the morning, do some miles at night, and you will see the difference in your endurance because it really mimics the pace of a fight. In a fight, it's a constant grind. There's no breaks in the fight. You never get a break. Just because you're not punching does not mean you're resting. You never rest in the fight, and that's why running is so important, is because it's a consistent pace. And not only does it train your lungs, your heart, and your legs, but it also trains your mind, right? If you set a goal on running an X amount of miles, you have to complete that goal. And that's that mental training, that even when you get tired, even when your legs get heavy, even when your lungs start to burn, you're gonna do your miles no matter what. So tip number one is start doing your road work and start taking it seriously, at least 5 to 6 days a week. Speaking of road work, you have to also do your sprints. This will help you with your explosiveness, and it will help with that second wind stamina, right? That ability to get the second wind, especially if you do them at the end of your workout. When you're gassed, when you're tired, do your sprints. And the way you want to do them is pick any 2 spots. It doesn't have to be a set amount of distance. You don't have to know how far in between you're running, right? Just pick a spot, pick another spot, and those will be your two touch points, right? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna sprint from one point to another as fast as you can. Really just explode and give it your all, and then you're gonna jog back. Then you're gonna sprint as fast and as hard as you can, and you're gonna jog back. And you're gonna do this 5 times without resting. Right, after 5 times you can rest, and then do it again, and then do it again for as long as you can do it. Do it at the end of your practice to train explosiveness when you're tired. Teach your body how to explode when you're tired. Next, you're gonna wanna add a couple drills to your heavy bag routine. These are drills that you're gonna add on top of your deliberate practice on the bag. Right, you should still drill certain punches. You should drill for power and do everything else that you do on the bag to improve. But these drills you want to add specifically for stamina, and I'll link both of them in the description below to the videos where I talk about them in more detail. So the first one is going to be what I call the Mauler Drill, right? And basically what you're going to do here is you're going to throw a punch every 3 seconds. If you have a coach counting for you, that's better, a coach or a partner, right? If you don't, then you could count in your head or just record yourself saying 1, 2, 3 and pause in between, right? So what you're gonna do is for the first round, you're gonna throw a punch every 3 seconds, right? Boom, 1, 2, 3, boom, 1, 2, 3, boom. And that's what you're gonna do for the first round. For the second round, you're gonna throw 2 punches every 3 seconds, right? So boom, boom, 1, 2, 3, boom, 1, 2, 3. And you're gonna do that for the entire second round. And for the third round, you're gonna throw 3 punches every 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And if you're still alive at the end of that, then you're gonna keep doing that for 4, 5, 6, or however many rounds you can handle. Right? So do this drill. It will tremendously help you with your conditioning because it's gonna help you deal with fast paces in the fight, right? Like I've said multiple times in this video and in other videos, there is no real break in the fight, right? So this drill will help you work on that. So this next drill is the Mayweather heavy bag drill, and you can do this at the end of your heavy bag workout. And I talk about this drill in another video in detail. Again, links in the description below. And basically what you're gonna be doing is just getting in front of the bag and tapping, right? You're not gonna be tapping too light. You're gonna put some purpose behind those punches, and then you're gonna explode in between, right? So you're gonna go just like this, right? A little purpose to your punches is a good pace, set a good pace, and then explode every once in a while, right? Go to the body, and then right back to the rhythm. And you're gonna do this for as long as you can, right? You could do this for rounds, you could do this just straight through. Floyd Mayweather does it for up to 40 minutes with about 5 water breaks in between, where he just takes a swig and gets right back to it, right? Absolute animal. That's why you never see him tired in the ring. And this is replicating that rhythm of a fight, that there's no breaks, right? Just like I keep saying, there's no breaks in the fight. And that's how you want your training to be. You want it to replicate the real rhythm of a fight, where when you hit a regular heavy bag, you throw a combination and then you just rest. There's none of that bullshit in the fight, right? So you want to train yourself accordingly. Next, you want to change the way you strength train, right? A lot of boxers these days do lift weights, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I would recommend that if you're having stamina problems, drop the weights or change the way you lift them, right? If you're having stamina issues, you want to improve your cardiovascular endurance and you want to improve your muscular endurance as well. And the way to do that is through calisthenics or high rep weightlifting, right? And the way you really want to do that is something called every minute on the minute training. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to take a stopwatch and you're going to hit start. As soon as you hit start, you're going to do your first set. Let's say we're doing push-ups, right? Let's say it takes us about 30 seconds to complete our first set. That means we have 30 seconds to rest until it hits the 1 minute mark. Every time the clock hits the 1 minute mark, you go back down to do your next set. And you do this for every single minute. This is why it's called every minute on the minute, right? And it doesn't matter when you stop. If you stop doing your push-ups at 50 seconds, that means you only have 10 seconds to rest, right? If you stop your push-ups at 10 seconds, now you have 50 seconds to rest. But you have to do the push-ups very close to failure. You have to do each set close to failure. You don't want to just set a number in your head and say, I'm gonna do 20. No. Do whatever number you're close to where you know you're about to start failing. Constantly push your body to get to that point of failure, and then do them every minute on the minute. You're gonna start with push-ups, and you're gonna do 5 sets of push-ups every minute on the minute. And on the 6th minute, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do your pull-ups for 5 sets, and you're gonna do that every minute on the minute, right? You wanna do these exercises back to back every minute on the minute. And here's how it's gonna be structured. You're gonna do push-ups for 5 sets. You're gonna do pull-ups for 5 sets. You're gonna do squats for 5 sets. You're gonna do leg raises for 5 sets. And then you could do either some kind of shoulder exercise or some kind of neck exercise for another 5 sets. And you're basically gonna do this for an entire circuit, every minute on a minute, right? So 25 to 30 minutes, just every minute on the minute. If it gets too easy, you can double the sets on certain exercises. And if it's too difficult, then you could split them into multiple circuits throughout the day, right? You could do 1 or 2 or 3 circuits throughout the day. Maybe do 1 in the morning, do 1 in the mid-afternoon, and do 1 in the evening, right? And if you're not there yet, if you're not in shape, then start with 1. See how you feel, right? Start with that 1 circuit for 25 minutes. And don't forget your dips as well. And I'll include a breakdown of it in the description, right? So you're gonna do push-ups, pull-ups, dips, squats, leg raises, or some type of ad work and shoulder training, or some type of neck training in that circuit, right? So you should have about 5 to 6 exercises that you're doing, which should take you to about 30 minutes of training every minute on the minute. The reason this works is because it works your muscular endurance, it works your muscular strength, because it starts to begin to feel like a powerlifting workout. And it's gonna help you not fatigue in that ring, right? It's a constant pressure on your muscles, on your lungs, on your heart, and you're really gonna turn into an animal, right? You're still doing your strength training, but you're not doing it in a relaxed fashion where you just do a set and then you relax. You do a set and then you relax for a couple minutes, right? This is go, 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 much like a fight is. Everything you wanna do is to replicate the rhythms of a fight, right? Everything you do has to replicate the rhythms of a fight, which is why those drills are so great to do, right? Because again, in a fight, it's always on. You gotta be always on, mentally and physically. Now, what a lot of guys struggle with when they fatigue is they drop their hands, their shoulders get heavy, and a lot of guys with stamina problems, they usually are referring to the fact that their hands get heavy and they get tired, right? They get tired, their hands get heavy, and their shoulders start burning. That's usually one of the first symptoms of having bad endurance in boxing, is your shoulders get heavy and you start dropping your hands, and your punches stop having a snap on them, and then you start to telegraph, and then the opponent just picks you apart with their counters, right? So what you want to do is the 5-minute shadow boxing workout. I talk about it in detail in this video, but in this video I'll basically just go through it. What you want to do is you want to grab 2 dumbbells, you want to just shadow box non-stop for 30 seconds, then drop the weights, do 30 seconds without them, then pick them up, do 30 seconds with them. And you want to do this for 5 minutes. If it gets too easy, pick up the pace, do it faster, right? Or increase the weight, right? Or start shooting higher, right? There's ways to make this exercise more difficult, and you want to do this to condition your shoulders, to prevent your shoulders from getting tired so easy. This way you'll be able to keep your hands up for the duration of the fight, and you'll be able to have more snap throughout the duration of the fight. And you have to work on all these different things in unison, because there's different types of endurance, and to be a complete fighter and not get tired in any of those areas, you have to do different things. Now, of course, all these things are going to help you with your endurance, but the best way to train endurance for fighting is to do the fighting, right? So spar as often as you can to kind of see where you're at, but do know that just because you could spar a lot in the gym doesn't mean that you could do those same rounds come competition time. My first amateur fight, I was able to spar for 9 4-minute rounds. By the time I got to the fight, I was tired by the end of the third 2-minute round, right? It was only 2-minute rounds, and by the third round, I was exhausted. Thank God I stopped the guy, and he was actually worn too, but you never want to count on the other guy being tired, right? Because the other guy's still fresh and you're tired, you are in big trouble and you are gonna get hurt. So you want to make sure you're in shape, and you want to make sure you're sparring to see where your stamina is at, and you want to make sure you're competing, right? Even if you're just a hobbyist, sign up for some amateur fights, right? And see where you really are, test your skills, test where you're at, and see how different a real fight is, right? All that fancy stuff you're doing in the gym may not play out that well in the fight, and the only way you're gonna know that is if you actually go and compete. And if you're an amateur fighter, compete as often as possible. That's one of the best tips to increase your endurance, right? This way you get comfortable being in competition mode, right? You're not worn out by all that adrenaline, and you learn to focus in that ring, and you learn what intensity the real fights actually have, so you can learn what it takes when you're actually practicing in the gym, right? Because if you're doing a bunch of bullshit in the gym and you're never competing, you're gonna keep doing a bunch of bullshit in the gym, right? So you want to go out there and compete, and you want to see where you're at. You want to get a real sense of where you're at, because the boxing is the truth. It will expose you, it will teach you, it will show you your weaknesses. Now, last but not least is the mental endurance. You have to train your mental endurance, and the way you do that is by doing everything in your boxing training with awareness and intent. You want to bring your attention right here to the forefront of your mind. You don't want to do things mindlessly. You want to make sure you're constantly checking in with yourself to see if you're aware and you're focused, right? When you're shadow boxing, stay focused. Be aware of what you're doing. When you're training, even when you're doing push-ups, be focused. When you're hitting the bag, be focused. Because a lot of times fighters lose in the ring, not even because they're out of shape physically, but because they're out of shape mentally, right? They just aren't able to focus for the duration of the fight. And we see this happen. They'll start off sharp, boom, boom, picking up, opponent off, and then all of a sudden they'll just lapse. They'll have mental lapses, and that's when they get caught. They start throwing lazy punches. They start doing lazy bobs and weaves, right? And they just lose focus in the fight. One of the things that make guys like Mayweather and Roy Jones and Manny Pacquiao so special is that they're able to focus for 45 minutes, which is not easy. It is so mentally draining to stay focused when there's a guy trying to take your fucking head off. It's not easy to do. And the way you train that is by training awareness while you're in practice, right? And another way to train that is to do your meditation, guys. A lot of fighters don't meditate. You don't have to do it for spiritual reasons. You don't have to believe in anything else. All you have to do is sit down and meditate. There's scientific proof that meditation helps your brain, it helps you focus, and it helps you develop your prefrontal cortex area, which is where focus lives, right? It's what makes you human, and that's what will make you a lot sharper in the ring and help you focus for much longer periods of time. Now, a bonus tip I'm gonna give you guys is to shorten your rest period, right? Shorten that rest period. If you rest 1 minute in competition, then you want to shorten that rest period to 30 seconds or even 15 seconds, right? And teach your body to recover in a shorter amount of time than you'll need during competition time. Because then that extra 30 seconds that you have during competition time will be a bonus for your body, right? Because it's so used to now training only resting 30 seconds between work. And it'll learn how to recover faster, right? Human bodies are built to adapt, right? So if you train with shorter breaks, you'll have much better stamina. And honestly, the most important thing about getting tired in the ring is knowing how to stay sharp after getting tired. It's like Evander Holyfield says, when you're boxing and when you're in the fight, you're gonna get tired. Both guys are gonna get tired. And it comes down to who's gonna work harder when they're tired. So the whole point of training is to increase your endurance, but also to know how to fight tired, how to stay sharp even when you get tired. You think guys like Floyd, who's sharp all the way to the 12th round, don't get tired? They feel the exhaustion. You see the sweat on them, right? You see them breathing heavy between rounds. And that's because you're gonna get tired regardless. It's a fight. It's a hard thing for the human body to handle, especially in boxing for such long durations of time, right? So you train so hard in order to be able to stay sharp even when you're tired, in order to be able to stay focused even when you're tired. Even you want to be just great on autopilot, right? Even when you're tired, you want to continue doing things with excellence. And that's the whole point of pushing your body to the limit in training. Because once you're tired in the fight, you are fucked. Your body starts to give up on you. Your mind starts to give up on you. And even if your mind doesn't give up on you, your body will, right? You will see an opportunity to land a punch and you won't be able to take it. You'll see a punch coming at you and your body just won't be able to get out the way of it, right? It's one of the scariest things to go through in a fight, and it's even worse when the other guy is still fresh, because then you're 100% getting hurt. You're taking unnecessary punishment. You're taking unnecessary punches, and it can influence the rest of your life, right? Every punch has the potential to influence the rest of your life. Maybe you'll get a hurt eye. Maybe you'll blow out your eardrum. You gotta be in shape for the sake of your own health. And when you're out of shape, it's not just your stamina that suffers. You're also not as fast. You're also not as strong. Your reflexes are not as great, right? Even when you're fresh. That's why it's important to be in peak shape when you're fighting, because you're quite literally putting your life on the line every time you get into a fight. So you want to be in shape. And it's like Customado says, right? A lot of fighters don't lose because they're the worst fighter. They lose because somewhere in the middle of the fight they give up. Whether they get fatigued or they just lose hope that they can win the fight. And what they do is they mentally, in his words, pick a spot on the canvas to land on. And they give it a round or two to let the guy land a clean shot, and just, they get hurt, but mentally they checked out, right? They were looking for a way out, a way to get out of the fight. And sometimes losing is the best way for them to stop the fight and stop the suffering of being exhausted in that ring, right? In the words of, it's like an old boxing adage that fatigue makes cowards of the bravest men. So stay in shape, guys. Do all these endurance training exercises. Do your road work. Do your sprints. Do your jump roping. Change up the way you strength train, right? Do all those heavy back drills and all the other tips we talked about in this video. Increase your endurance. Remember, this isn't the workout. This is just things that you have to do within your workout in order to increase your endurance. Let me know in the comment section below if you struggle with fatigue, or if you have some tips for others who struggle with fatigue. And don't forget, guys, the book is officially live on Amazon. Go pick it up if you want to be in shape, if you want to become a better boxer. I talk about training in this book, I talk about strategy in this book, and I talk about mindset. It's literally broken down into those 3 sections. You're gonna love it. Check it out and let me know what you think about it. If you enjoy the read, drop me a comment and also drop a review on Amazon. I would greatly appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you like that video and hit all those other YouTube buttons to help this channel blow. I'm Shahan with Brawl Brothers, and I'll brawl with you guys next time.